Hey all, welcome to ShareTreck. This is Raj here, and it's Tuesday, November 4th, and we are starting this morning on a cautious note. Tech stocks are leading a sharp pullback in pre-market trading. Futures are deep in the red after Wall Street heavyweights warned that the market might be due for a correction. Let's dive into what's moving the markets before the opening bell. As of pre-market hours, Nasdaq 100 futures are down 1.25%. The S&P 500 is off 0.94%. And the Dow Jones is lower by roughly 0.73%. I think that's a pretty clear signal investors are taking some chips off the table, and especially in tech. Now, overnight, the CEOs of Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley both cautioned investors that markets could see a 10% or more pullback over the next 2 years. Their concern? Valuations, particularly in the AI-heavy tech sectors, which has stretched beyond fundamentals. And friends, if you recollect, I've been talking about this for almost 3 months in the channel, but it's the voice of these CEOs that the market seems to heed. And I hope they heed it for not just a few hours, but they actually reflect on it, because I believe values are very stretched. Remember, we have had an incredible AI-driven rally over the past few months, but now that euphoria seems to be cooling. A great example of that shift is Palantir. The stock has been up almost 400% over the year, but this morning it's down more than 7% in pre-market after the company's Q4 outlook failed to impress. Hi Hot Dog, hi David, thanks for joining. I can see you there. What's interesting is that Palantir actually bet analysts' expectations on both revenue and earnings, but the guidance didn't live up to the market's sky-high hopes. And that's a clear reminder that even good results can fail to sustain valuations if expectations are unrealistic. So we also got a busy earnings day ahead. More than 100 S&P 500 companies report this week. Today's lineup includes Moore's Coors, Harley-Davidson, Global Payments, and a few other companies, including Tango Therapeutics and Sotera Health. But analysts are watching these results closely for signs of how consumer spending, payments, utilities, health, and biotech are all holding up, all of which will give us better insight into the real economy, especially since the government shutdown continues to delay official data on jobs and inflation. In the AI space, Amazon's $38 billion investment in OpenAI continues to make headlines. It's fueling the broader debate about how much of current tech valuations are justified by actual business fundamentals. But Monday's optimism didn't last long. Tech stocks have started retreating again as investors question whether AI hype has run too far ahead of earnings. Meanwhile, on the global front, China just drew fresh trade red lines only days after the latest US truce. Beijing's message is clear. They want continued negotiations and are warning Washington against any new export curbs on advanced tech. That's something to keep an eye on, because renewed friction here could impact the entire semiconductor and AI supply chain. Remember, I was talking about SMH being in a critical level. If SMH breaks down, which I see happening this morning, then it can bring the whole index down. Now, I want to take a very quick look at the commodity side. Gold is steady just under 4,000 an ounce. Yes, yesterday I bought some gold, ZGLD on the Canadian side. And that's right, 4,000. The prices are firming slightly as the US dollar pauses its recent climb. But the US dollar chart itself shows a whole lot of bullishness out there. That could be my opportunity to take money out of the US side and move it into the Canadian side. Traders are now speculating that the Federal Reserve may hold off on additional tightening, especially given the latest macro uncertainty and the ongoing data blackout from the government shutdown. So to sum up, we are seeing a tech-led sell-off, cautious signals from big banks, and a lot of eyes on the week's earnings for directions. Now, before I come to the comment section where we have a lot of actual comment going on, I want to just give you my snapshot of my thought before I forget that. Friends, what I'm seeing is that earlier, when the market was coming down, what would happen is the administration would talk about some deal with some country so that the tariffs will be reduced or suspended, and then the market would come up. And then if the market went down again, one of those AI companies would come and say that they have invested in OpenAI, and OpenAI is going to buy so many GPUs and so on and so forth, and that would push the market up. But now what is happening is, after the earnings of Meta, the market is indicating that if you put more money into data center, we are getting skittish and we are just going to drop the value. So now, in the bag of tricks, if we hear any other companies coming up with the news that they are going to invest more in data center and they're going to pull up a few $1 billion and plonk into it, I don't think that's going to push the market up. In fact, it'll push it down for that company. And as far as the administration is concerned, if they come back and talk about some deal coming through, I don't think the market is going to believe it at this point of time. So finally, our waiting for this bear market to get started may be around the corner. That's what I'm thinking. So let me go to the chat section. There's a lot of interaction out here. Good morning, Hot Dog. Good morning, David Best. No Santa rally this year. It's too early to say. If we have a correction, then we'll definitely have a Santa rally if the correction happens before the middle of December. Palantir reached 500 billion market cap, yes, but it then dropped down, right? It dropped down. Hot Dog is saying Nexperia crisis seems to be over. I'll have to check this out. I haven't had any idea about Nexperia, Hot Dog, to be honest. My scope has been limited. I'll check it out. If I don't, just put it in the comment section and I'll look at it. Then we say David Best 100-time revenue. Short Palantir, my end. David Best. Oh, that's a good move. I hope you did it in time and you are making a lot of money today. 17-year bull run since last recession. Repo market in chaos. Yes, I have seen videos about that. Dollar in the 3-month high. Circular investment in AI. Leveraging money supply with AI chips. Yes, agreed on most of these things. Also, I believe some bad debt is being packaged with GPU chips and being sold. I don't know what that product is, whether that report is true or false. I'm not that sophisticated to understand it. Worth checking out. Nexperia story was much bigger than US trade talks in Asia. Okay, I'll do that and probably a video on that to explain my understanding and get your feedback. So let's go into the TradingView platform and start looking at what's happening out here. Okay, so let's go on to look at the futures first, right? Friends, what I told you before, let me just recalibrate the chart so that you have big candles out here. As I told you before, this line of resistance has been holding us back, and every subsequent day we have been closing below the opening of the previous day. And now, today, we are here just above the line of support, which is at 6802.00. Now, if you look at the two candles out here, these two candles have been a little bit out. So if I was to just adjust this line of support to be right on top of it, then you will see that this candle is perfectly aligned. So this is our new line of support. Our line of support for today is at 6,811.75 for S&P 500 futures. If we fall below that, then we have to confirm that as a resistance. Just going to drag this out a little bit. And we have to confirm that as a resistance, which means we have to close below 6787.50 the following day. And we also have this support from this parallel channel, which is going to give us support today for the S&P 500 futures at 6767.00. You will see market sentiment is bearish. And yesterday I was talking about bearish divergence. I think the bearish divergence is starting to act and getting to neutralize itself so that we don't have a bearish divergence anymore. So the activity has already started out here. So we'll see how it proceeds further. Same is the story for NASDAQ. You got this diagonal line of support now becoming a diagonal line of resistance. So I'm going to mark this red. So I'm going to mark this red, and we are already come down below this diagonal line of resistance. We have to close below 25,654.50 tomorrow, assuming that this is going to be the absolute bottom for NASDAQ today. And then we will confirm this resistance. Otherwise, that resistance won't be confirmed. We'll see how it proceeds. Now we have a gap fill to happen today. So I am thinking that there's a possibility that tomorrow we might try to fill up this gap out here. Market sentiment for NASDAQ is still bullish. Remember, more tech weight. And then we still have the bearish divergence, which has to be accounted for. And I think that as we go ahead into the day, we'll see that there will be a closing of this gap and then a bounce back. So when there is a huge drop like this, there is always a little bit of recapture before going down. So there will be overlaps in the candles that as we have seen before. Now let's look at dollar index, which is looking absolutely bullish to me. At this point of time, we already reached our target of 100.028. We exceeded it and we came back down again. So that's where the wick is. The wick is above. We are right now exactly at our target that we set up a long time ago. We set up this target a long time ago. We had multiple bull flags and then we reached here. So this is a good sign for the inflation control for US, because all the tariffs become much easier to bear because the dollar goes a long way. So when they pay in foreign currency, the dollar converted to foreign currency, it's a lot of money. So exporters can also afford to price it without losing too much of their money. So that's a good thing about dollar going up. VIX is almost up 11.80%. Remember guys, I was talking about the plan for VXX, plan to buy VXS. I wish I had the guts to do it. But anyway, it's going up, and if I had put money on VXX, I would have made some money out here, but it was not a sure thing, so I didn't get in. If you ask me, is it a sure thing now? No, I don't know. It's too risky for me. Gold is down 0.19%, guys. I bought Z Gold yesterday, 100 units in in two of the accounts, 100 each. I still owe you my overall portfolio, but I don't see the person who asked for it in the chat out here, so I guess he was also not serious about it. We'll do that at a later date before the close of the year. I can give you an accounting of how I performed this year. And we have a support at 3962.31, so that's a good support out here, and a resistance at 4040.83. So that's the range, and I'm thinking the bias today is for coming down rather than going up, because we have a bear flag which has given this result, and then we have a so-called attempt to break out, but that attempt has not succeeded. So we have created another flag here. This is a bull flag in my opinion, but because our market sentiment is bearish, and because MACD is bearish and momentum is just as average, I'm not able to go the bullish side. I think it's going to be more bearish than bullish for today. Now, if you look at PCC put call ratio, it's up 15.40%. I would say put call ratio is almost neutral. One is neutral out here. So I think we are very close to neutral. Now let's go on and have a look at AI. NVDA is down 1.92% in pre-market trades. It has come down significantly. This diagonal line of resistance is confirmed. And if you look at this parallel channel, the parallel channel held, and then the diagonal line of resistance held, and we are back down now. And for today, I would say we'll find some support at 201.09 for NVIDIA. Right now, we are at 202.90. We have this bearish divergence, which is still active, and I think there would be a correction in store. That's what I'm aiming for. Let's look at Meta. Meta is down 0.95%. Friends, I made another rookie mistake out here with Meta. I bought Meta somewhere around 658 on the Canadian side. I was very confident that we are going to bounce off from here, given the strength of Google and the others. And I thought that this gap down is severe, so there is going to be a dead cat bounce. The dead cat bounce was there, but my purchase price and my extra waiting caused a problem. And right now, I'm in the losing end, and Meta is accumulating losses for me on the Canadian side. It's going down further, and I think it looks very bearish to me at this point of time. I'm not seeing any bullish pattern coming up. So until we see a bullish pattern, I think I'm going to accumulate losses out here. And one of my weaknesses, I don't realize my losses and get out in time, and my positions become huge loss magnets. I have to sell Meta today. I'm going to resolve to sell it today. Let's see what happens at the end of the day. We are all prisoners to our trends and tendencies. Now this is the gap up which needs to be filled up out here, and we are moving towards that with regard to Google. I would say we have a support at 275.39, having already met our bull flag target of 292.18. So we are on our way down back again. We are down 1.81% today. In pre-market trades, Amazon is down 1.74%, and it has come back into the shadow of this candle from 31st October 25. And I think our support for today is going to be 244.12. Next, we look at Apple. Apple is down 0.71% in pre-market trades. We still have support today at around 263.78. Microsoft is down 0.88% in pre-market trades, and we have fallen below the support of 514.69. I'm going to mark this as a resistance, and whatever candle we form here, we have to close tomorrow below that candle in order to confirm this resistance. And once we confirm this resistance, then we have a very confirmed bearish bias for Microsoft. You can see that the market sentiment has also become neutral. MACD has become bearish, and momentum is below average. I didn't have the MSFT anymore in my portfolio. I sold it off, but it's okay. We're looking at Tesla. Tesla is down 2.60%. This resistance at 471.60 really worked, and now I think it's going to be forming a double top. We'll have to see where Tesla goes. If Tesla comes back to touch this support, if it kisses this support, then this will be the trigger point. The trigger point is 419.85 for it to go down based on the double top pattern. And we'll plot a target for it at a later time. I don't want to jinx this. I still have my TSLQ. Now let's go on to Oracle. Oracle is down 2.60% in pre-market trades. It's moving along this diagonal line of support, which is now a diagonal line of resistance. For today, the resistance is very, very strong at 258.55. So this is going to become red, and this is going to become red. So if we try to break through, I'm absolutely sure we are going to be stopped out here. And if we go to tomorrow, then the resistance kind of breaks up into two parts. It will become much easier for us to move above this diagonal line of support. Market sentiment is absolutely bearish. MACD is totally bearish. Momentum is below average. So Oracle is looking weak right now. AMD is down 2.91% in pre-market trades. We have a gap up to complete, and we have support at 236.82. So that's where I am thinking we are going to be heading. And our support, immediate support, is at 243.20 today. Maybe tomorrow we'll try to do the gap fill. SMCI is down 3.00%. It's at the bottom of this diagonal line of support. For today, the support is at 49.14. We are at 49.24. So I'm going to leave everything as is. And if tomorrow we fall below this, then our support is going to be at around 47.75. Broadcom is down 1.72%. and in pre-market trades, and I think for today the support is going to be at 349.92. We have a gap up which has to be filled as well, so we'll see what happens when we come to the upper bound of the bullish pennant. Palantir came up with great results. If you look at the earnings, you'll see that the earnings was up 25.11% above estimate, and the revenue was up 8.17% above estimate. But all of that did not help Palantir from dropping 8.19% in pre-market trades. And we have support at 189.61. I'm going to mark this as support, and we'll see if we fall below this. If we fall below this, then we have a little bit of a gap up to be filled up, a very small wedge out here, and then we'll have support out here in this diagonal line of support. This has to be green. So Palantir is moving down. We could also see a dead cat bounce on this line of support, but I'm not going to go in for it based on my experience with Meta. I'm just going to watch Palantir. SMH is down 2.14% in pre-market trades, and it has fallen below our line of support at 359.65. So the line of support now becomes a line of resistance, and we'll see what happens when the day ends. We have the bearish divergence also, which we have to account for. So it's pushing it down. SMH is what is going to pull down the overall index. So this is a very important chart. We'll watch what happens out here going forward. You can see that bullish sentiment is flattened out, and it might potentially start moving towards neutral. Tempus AI is down 4.31%, approaching a support of 80.97 for today. Then Celsius Holdings, very curious about Celsius. I think the huge cup and handle pattern doesn't have much of a chance given the overall market sentiment. However, the sales pressure is being pushed back up. Yesterday also, we opened higher and we came down, and then we were pushed back up by buyers. We went all the way to 59.29, back up again after touching a point of 57.71. So there's a whole lot of buying pressure out here. We'll have to see how today's pre-market action compares where we open. Are we going to create another red candle out here? Market sentiment is bearish, MACD is bearish, and momentum is below average. So overall, I am thinking that probably we'll have to kiss goodbye to this cup and handle target for Celsius Holdings. So that said, I want to go and have a look at Genomics, and in Genomics, Prime is down 5.04%. It has fallen below this diagonal line of support. And for today, the diagonal line of support is going to be at 4.51, and it will now perform the role of a resistance. So resistance is at 4.51. And our next support, I think, will be somewhere around 3.87. That's going to be the next support. I'll just draw a small line of support out here, a minor line of support, and mark this green. So this may not be exactly horizontal, but this is what it looks like. Next, I have Intelia, which is down 3.29% in pre-market trades, and it's starting to look quite bearish at this point of time. And let's go to Caribou Biosciences, which is up 0.41% in pre-market trades after this huge drop out here. It's kind of clawing its way back again, and yeah, it's too early in the days to say whether we are out of the woods yet. It could be a little bit of a dead cat bounce, because in all indicators, everything, we are at the bottom except for momentum, which is at average. So let us see if Caribou can build further on this, but the overall market doesn't seem conducive, because every stock has a delta. Delta is its positive correlation with the index. So Caribou also has a delta which may bring it down when the market opens. Beam Therapeutics is down 3.13% in pre-market trades. I think the next support for Beam will be 22.66. Overall, all the indicators out here are negative. We have earnings coming out on the 10th of November. Let us see if there is any catalyst. Altimmune is down 1.26%. And friends, I regret to say that for the first time, we are now below the line of support, which is going to provide resistance at 3.99. So I'm going to mark this as red. This is the market delta at work, I think. Altimmune has finally given up some value. I was very hopeful that we'll continue crawling along this gentle slope upwards, but that has been dashed. But the silver lining is that we have not yet confirmed the resistance, so hopefully we see some movement there. Editas is down 4.90%, and I think the next support for Editas would be around 2.83. Illumina is down 2.59% in pre-market trades. There was a huge gain out there. It's coming down. It could be a purchasing opportunity in my opinion. We'll see. It also has a delta with the market, so if the market goes down, so will Illumina. But there will be some dollar cost averaging opportunity. I don't find Illumina on the Canadian side, so I'm not able to buy it on the Canadian side, and it is too expensive for me to put money in the US side, because at $119, if I was to buy 100, I have to put a whole lot of money just on one stock. I don't want to do that. I'm reducing my US side and I'm putting more money on the Canadian side. So my portfolio is much weaker on the US side progressively. So I wouldn't buy Illumina here. But if I had money, I would do dollar cost averaging. Again, personal opinion, not financial advice. CRSP Therapeutics is down 2.28% in pre-market trades. It has finally fallen below this line of support, which now becomes a line of resistance. And for today, it's going to provide resistance at 61.19. Pre-market, we are at 60.56. Market sentiment is bearish. MACD is bearish. Momentum is below average. And then if I was to go and look at Allogene, no trades pre-market, it's still looking very bearish to me. This is a bear flag in my opinion, and it's going to break down on the downside. Grail is down 4.22% in pre-market trades. I think it will get support somewhere around 82.57 for the day. Next we have PACB, which is down 1.79%. Not too much worried as yet. I think we could potentially form a bullish pennant or a bull flag out here. I'm going to watch for it. As I mentioned earlier, Illumina, PSEB, Grail, I think these three companies would do better than the rest in our pack at this point of time. ARCG is down 2.38% in pre-market trades, and it is starting to look bearish to me. It's still consolidating, and I feel bearish about it also because market sentiment is down. MACD is also bearish, and momentum went below average and then came up again, and it's back again towards average. So it has to make up its mind, and there's a lot of underlying out there, and they bought a whole lot of Caribou recently, if I'm not mistaken, and they had some gains there. Let us see what happens with Vertex. It's down 2.58% in pre-market trades. It will get support at 413.74. Pre-market, it's at 415.00. It's a drop of 2.58% in pre-market earnings. Pre-market action. And one of the reasons seems to be that Stifel has lowered its price target for Vertex Pharmaceuticals from 455 to 445. And you look at earnings, the earnings have come out pretty good. 4.91% better than expected performance on the earnings estimate, and better than expected revenue by 0.55% on the estimate of 3.06 billion. So ideally Vertex should have been positive, but it has come down to test the support at 413.58. If the support holds, I think we should be fine. But if the support doesn't hold, we have to look for new patterns in order to decide where it is going. So I see no reason why Vertex should be so weak, but there might be some news articles that we are not aware of why the analysts have reduced the target. I'll try to find out and share it with you. Ginkgo Bioworks is down 3.60% in pre-market trades. It's looking absolutely bearish to me. It's going to continue its journey downwards. And for today, I think it could get some support at 11.96. And then let's go on to IMTX. I'm just going to scroll up on our chat session out here. David Best had spoken about, I think Iowa is what he was talking about. I'll talk about that. Precision is down 2.16%. A little disappointed with Precision. We still have support, initial support at 3.93. Right now we're at 4.07. We look at Lilly. Lilly has broken out of the parallel channel and it has confirmed above the parallel channel. So this parallel channel now becomes a support on the top side. And for today, we are given up some of the gains, but I'm still optimistic because MACD is bullish, momentum is above average, and RSI still has some room. And I think a little bit of consolidation is in order. And I'm also starting to see a bearish divergence out here. So I would be careful with Eli Lilly. It needs to consolidate before it makes any further moves. Iowa is down 2.31, and the diagonal line of resistance is going to offer resistance at 2.13. That's for today. All indicators show that Iowa is not in favor in the market. Now let's look at Ultragenics. There are no trades pre-market. Ultragenics still has this line of support out here, which is going to provide support today at 31.82. And then I'm looking at Rocket. Whoa, what a disappointment, Rocket. It continues to lose value. There is a little bit of consolidation out here. We arrested the steep fall. That's a good news. But I'm still not seeing much to get enthused about. I'm holding this at a loss. Now I want to talk to you about Pfizer. I'm going to make a separate video about Pfizer. I'm invested in Pfizer. It's accumulated around 25% loss in my portfolio, but I still have it. I think Pfizer is a pretty good company overall, but it's not getting its due. It is paying me dividends of 43 cents every month per share, and its earnings also came out pretty good. It outperformed the earnings estimate by 37.52%. It outperformed the revenue estimate by 0.94%, and yet it has dropped 0.93%. The market will one day turn its attentions to the like of Pfizer and companies like ExxonMobil and all the steady companies which are paying dividends, which have decent capital in their balance sheet, and which have monetized products. I'm waiting for that day. This indicates how blind the market is to good quality stocks. But the problem is that I may like a particular stock, but as long as the market doesn't fancy it, it doesn't get any traction. So that's the tragedy of knowing something and seeing the market going a different way. Sarepta. Now this is another stock that I think David Best was talking about. Sarepta earnings were disappointing. It underperformed by 147% when compared to the earnings that was estimated. And EPS of 0.72 negative was estimated, and it came significantly higher than that at minus 1.80. Higher in negative is really bad. Then in terms of revenue, they definitely outperformed, got 18.94%, but earnings is what matters at the end of the day, earnings per share. If it doesn't work out, that means the company is not profitable, it's going to burn through its cash runway. So that's why it has lost 35%. Will there be a dead cat bounce? Of course, there will be a dead cat bounce. We'll find the next support somewhere around 13.94. This is where we'll have the next support. Let me draw that for good measure. So this is the support. Let me give you the exact number. 13.94 is the support for Sarepta. Now, next, let's go on to the currencies. And in currencies, I'm looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin continues to plumb the depth. Next support for Bitcoin is 101,315. All indicators point to negativeness. Same thing for Ethereum. For Ethereum, I'll give you the next support line, and that's going to be at 3,375.82. That's the next support for Ethereum. Next, let's go on to XRP USD. XRP is continuing to travel along this diagonal line of support, which offers support at 22,532. Right now we are at 22,566. Oh, sorry, it's got a decimal out there. Let me come back again on this. Right now we have a support right now at 2.2625, that is our support, and we are at 2.2572, slightly above that. So if this support fails, then we fall below it. But fortunately for XRP, this is a dynamic line of support. So tomorrow this support will be at $2.24, and if we close at $2.24 today, we'll still be on top of the support tomorrow. So let us see what happens with XRP. I think overall indicators show that it is bearish. So the chances of it settling below this diagonal line of support is higher than it settling above. Also, the chart pattern doesn't seem to indicate anything bullish as such. So with that said, I think I would just like to go and have a quick look at gold. So gold will have support at 3954.44. Right now we are at 3986.72. So when we come closer to 3954.44, I would probably try to dollar cost average. Now let us look at Nexperia. Let's look at Nexperia. Yeah, this is again a very bad move. If China was to just take over an American company or a Norwegian company, all hell would break loose. The media would be screaming. But right now, there is not much of anything about this. So hot dog, you're right. You know, Nexperia story is much bigger because it is setting a precedence for lawlessness in the corporate sector, and these companies could start taking them over, and it can distort the entire stock market as such, because there will be a new risk. Government clamped down on various companies. US has already started it by buying shares, and the TikTok saga is still continuing. I mean, how long can you keep on pushing China? There should be at some point of time you have to stop and think, okay, China is doing the hard work and it's trying to better everything for its own people, and we are doing the same for our own people. So let us have some sensibility out here. Let the competition be fair. Let's look at it that way. So yeah, I agree with you, Hot Dog. And yeah, that's about it. So this brings me to an end of today's session. I'll catch up with you again in the